What's up everybody? Been a hot minute since I made a video. Things kinda got busy at work after the beta. And then I also had a week off of vacation in there and things are kinda calming down now, so trying to get back into the swing of things. As you can see here, today's video we're talking about the Fateless video on campaign version 2. And not only is it Simon, but he has a guest. Might know him as Saphira, might know him as Paul, but Paul's on this video with Simon. And they're basically talking everything campaign and all the revamps they're doing. So stay tuned to see my speculation on one of the nodes that we'll get into later in the video. And at the end, I'm gonna kind of toss in my thoughts on the starter heroes. If you missed it during one of the podcasts, they leaked that there's a good chance that the starter heroes are gonna change. So I kind of toss out my idea for what I think, and we'll get to that after all the campaign stuff at the end. So campaign version 2. So this is a bad example, but basically they aren't changing the way campaign works completely. You're still going to have your stages, still going to have your 3 waves per stage, fight your way through the realm. I believe somewhere in the video they said this screen is going to get redesigned, but basically you're still going to go realm to realm, fighting your way through the campaign. But they did totally rework. I don't like saying totally rework. They basically enhanced the campaign, I think is a better way to say it. And if I skip forward a little bit, they talk about their mission statement. So I'm not going to sit here and read a whole wall of text for you, but if you want to pause and read it, go ahead. Leave it up for a minute. There you go. I'll pop myself off the screen so you can check out the whole thing if you want to. But basically they called this their vision for campaign mode. And it's basically your standard campaign things. If we call out the titles, campaign is the core game mode for narrative delivery. Star objectives are satisfying and a strong driver to build team diversity and optimization. Difficulty that earns its name is really just the difficulty of proceeding through the campaign. Come back to that in a second. Experience is the reason you're here. You're mainly gonna farm campaign for experience. Armor sets are a second pillar, so armor sets are kind of secondary to experience, but it's another reason you'd be farming campaign. And a handful of heroes earnable through effort. I do want to call out on this real quick that most games you get up to rare heroes from the campaign, but as you can see here, select common, uncommon, rare, and even epic heroes are obtainable through campaign drops, 1 to 2 per realm, that tie into the realm. So I think that's really exciting, having the chance to get up to an epic hero and not just a rare. Hop back on the screen real quick. And I guess before I get any further, now's a good time to call out what they show is just a prototype build, so it's nothing like what it's going to look like in game. And also they're still just on a prototype build, so anything shown here is still totally subject to change from like every little detail. Obviously they're reworking campaign right now, they're not afraid to totally revamp something. So definitely a lot that is up for change still. They have been asking for feedback throughout the video, so definitely leave feedback in the comments here, or I'll link the main video down below so you can check out the whole thing. Leave comments there, or hop on the Discord if you're not already. Not to linger on this for too long, but getting back to the top, the star objectives are very satisfying and a strong driver for build diversity and optimization. Paul does mention in this video they're doing a full sweep revising the 3-star challenges, so challenges could change quite drastically from beta. Now there's only so much room to change things with the 3-star challenges, so maybe drastically is a poor choice of words. I don't know how different it'll be from beta, but he did say they are revamping the challenges. And to touch on difficulty that earns its name, one of the big focuses that they put in there is the curve within each tier is feathered. They really want to feather the difficulty, so it's a much more steadier climb than some of the jumps that we had in beta. So that's another big focus for them in their revamping of campaign mode. So earlier when they were on the screen with the realms, this is kind of the page that I was hoping they were on. So this is the page that is getting updated, and I'll jump to it in a second, but basically you're going to see we have a lot more stages, and I'm sure it's going to be a similar pathing, but also the main thing I want to focus on is they talk about side nodes. So we'll see those side nodes in the prototype, and basically from how it looks on the prototype, it'll basically be complete one of these stages and a node will appear next to it. So I don't know how much this screen will change, or if it'll just look the same with those side nodes opening up next to things, next to completed stages. But let's get into it. So just to drive it home, this is a prototype, as bare bones can be. You can see the different realms. And right off the bat, I don't know how easy it is to see on screen, but Asgard is showing 0 of 27 stages complete. So you can see they added a ton of stages. And he's also clicked onto Olympus, which is 0 of 28 stages with 6 side nodes. And basically in this point of the video, he clicks through all the realms real quick. And I've seen as few as 20 and as high as 28 stages. And each realm has 6 to 7 side nodes. Again, take that as a grain of salt. Maybe the ones with fewer stages and side nodes just haven't been completed yet in this prototype build, or maybe that's just what they did for the prototype. But that's what I saw as he was clicking through. And I think this is the last thing I want to touch on before we get to the side nodes. But basically you can see now we're inside of Asgard, 27th stage, realm boss. You can also see there's an elite level, minor boss, not sure how readable it is, but that's what those say. And there's also an elite and minor boss earlier in the progression. I just wanted to stop it at the end so you could see the realm boss at the end. So basically your standard campaign, but stages have been almost tripled. Because I believe we had 10 stages in all the realms previously. So yeah, almost tripled the stages here. And that's not including the side nodes yet, so we're getting even more on top of the extra stages once we get into those. And basically their explanation was they want you to feel like each realm is a journey through the realm. So you're spending more time in there exploring your way through the realm. And then as you discover more side nodes and get different rewards, it'll kind of ramp up the excitement to keep going through and explore the next realm and see what the next realm has in store. But let's start looking at the side nodes, because that is the real juicy part of the video. So the first side node they go over is this heroic node. And right at the top you can see a brutal 15 stage challenge tuned around a level 118, well above this realm. Return when your roster can handle it. So basically it's something to unlock, dip your toe in, see how far you can get, but mostly something you'll come back to later when your team is stronger. Although he did throw out that there's potentially going to be a normal and heroic mode to this node. Bars. So you could potentially clear the normal mode on your first pass through, depending on how they set that up. But like I read, it's a 15 stage challenge, and it's basically high difficulty for a high reward. I guess I can fast forward a little. And basically your reward is going to be high rarity Asgard armor, but obviously it'll be realm specific to what realm you're in. Not too much to touch on there. It's more content, which is fun, and it's a side quest sort of thing, so it's not going to prevent you from unlocking the next realm. And it's something, once you get to it, you can just clear it and beat it, so it's not something that you're going to be like, I gotta go back and do this every day. So I think it's a fun addition. And let's get to the next side node. So this time I paused it right, showing the reward. But basically, Adventure Node is kind of more narrative. It's going to be story-driven stages that will basically focus in on a hero from the realm, with the reward being Aether Cores for that hero, so basically fragments of that hero that you'll be able to use to summon the hero. And I think this will be the main way that you'll get the epics that I mentioned near the start of the video. I guess I paused it on the reward, but I want to see the top, so bad job pausing. But yeah, basically they describe it as an extended tale featuring whatever hero from whatever realm. This is Itzel here. 13 narrative stages, optional, but the only place to earn this hero's Aether Core. So it doesn't say the only place to earn this hero, so I'm not sure if they're going to be campaign specific. I'd assume they'll still be in the pool, especially if they're epic. But this is where you would earn their Aether Core to fragment summon them. And the 13 narrative stages, I'm assuming it's not just 13 different stories, like cutscenes. I'm assuming there's actually going to be something to do during the stages, but it's probably going to be easier, and definitely far easier than the heroic mode, if I had to guess. But then again, you're getting hero fragments, so maybe it's not that easy. But I kind of like this, especially if it's a way to unlock epic heroes throughout the campaign. Epics might not be much to big spenders, but free to play. I'm sure they'll take all the epics they can get. So now we're on the Campfire Node, and basically the Campfire is just a side stage for a discount shop. So as it reads, a vendor camp, spend your hard-won currencies on supplies for the road ahead. I'll repeat again, everything's subject to change. These are just kind of placeholder items here in the shop. But this is potentially what you're looking at for rewards. Paul kind of described the campfire as a place to rest. So I actually commented on the Fateless video saying, hey, would make sense to have some stamina in here. If you're rested, get your stamina and push on. Keep pushing ahead. But I'm all for goodies at a discounted rate, so another good side node. So the next node is going to be Horde, and spoiler alert, if you see Dungeon up here, that's what we're going to go into after Horde. But I just wanted to call out, this is what I meant with the side nodes kind of stemming off of the main stages. Not sure how that's going to look on the actual campaign screen, but this is how it looks in the prototype. And earlier in the video they did say you find the side nodes as you discover them, but it does kind of look like they're tied into the harder stages. You got your elite, your minor boss, both unlocking side nodes. So I don't know how big of a surprise they'll be come the actual campaign. I'm sure like something like the campfire can be off of any stage, and they're kind of more intense nodes they want off of the bosses and elites. But just something I wanted to call out before going into the Horde node details. So it's exactly what it sounds like. Survive escalating waves on a single battlefield. Enemies pour in until the wave limit. Mini bosses arrive at milestones. And if I fast forward a little bit more, there's a few milestones as they scroll down. Main thing, you can see major XP payout. So the main focus of this node is going to be your XP farming. And I think Paul said you can do it once per day. I'm assuming it's one Horde mode per day, not per realm per day, but again, this is all the early version, so we're not sure yet. But basically your standard, put out your defensive team, see how long you can survive. I'm assuming there's different checkpoints at the milestones where you don't get the full XP payout, but you probably get a boost each milestone. If I had to guess, they didn't say that. And one interesting thing is they said there's a lot they can play around with. Could be you have two heroes fending off a bridge, was one of their examples. Another example was Saf throughout, or Paul throughout, maybe a ally hero who would come and support you. And basically the team can range from that two heroes on a bridge example up to maybe a full set of 5 heroes. A lot still up in the air. That's why they kind of beat in on feedback is important. They want to hear it. Yeah, not too much more to go on the Horde node. And the next thing they go into is the feature node, and this one happens to be a dungeon. So you unlock the Forge of Brokir. And it's not moving the dungeons inside a campaign. They basically just said they wanted to kind of visualize unlocking other game modes in a better way than just a pop-up coming up out of nowhere. So it's basically just a way to visualize unlocking other features of the game, and they'll be tied to campaign progress. One thing they mentioned that I wasn't a huge fan of is they were considering having, let's say you clear this feature node, going through the campaign on normal, you would unlock stages 1 through 5 of the Forge of Brokir, but then you would have to complete the heroic mode to unlock stages 6 to the end. I'm not really a big fan of that. If I have a team of heroes that's well suited for the dungeon and I can push far in the dungeon, I don't want to be locked behind a heroic quest that I might not have the team to beat it yet. And I understand the thought process is probably if you're able to clear this heroic, you're probably at the same level to start hitting those later dungeon levels, but still, I don't want to be held back by potentially a team comp that I don't have for heroic mode, but I do have for the dungeon. But apart from that, I think it's cool that the campaign kind of goes, hey, you just unlocked this, maybe you want to go check it out now. Kind of a nice little help hint, maybe for new players, or anyone that needs a reminder like, hey, you might want to focus on this, get stronger, and then come back and keep working your way through the campaign. Now this side node is super interesting, I think. It is the Treasure Cave. A single guardian stands between you and the cache. One fight, premium spoils. One single guardian. One single golden guardian? Maybe we see the return of an old friend. We know they have a boss built from the alpha that we haven't seen show up yet. That's my big speculation for the Treasure Cave. And as it said, premium spoils. You can see here, got a weapon imprint, which would be a great reward. So I think that'd be really cool if we see a return of the Golden Guardian. I mean, they have them built, they gotta stick them back in somewhere. Any chance to earn really good rewards is great. So I think that makes the Treasure Node my most, the node I'm most looking forward to. Just to see what the single guardian could be. Although it does kind of say down here, optionally guarded by minions, so we'll have to see what that means. Let me know down below if you think I'm right, if you think the Golden Guardian, if you think the Golden Guardian's gonna make a return appearance here in the Treasure Cave. So it's a little hard to see in the bottom left, but they actually pulled Simon off screen for a little bit to show the stars. As you can see, it's 27 earned from what he progressed through in the video. Out of 81, got 27 stages, 27 by 3, 81. So one of the big changes they're thinking about making is the star rewards will be realm specific versus a whole long get 500 stars throughout the campaign. They really want you to focus in on each realm being a journey and everything in that realm kind of being tied to the realm. So basically you would still get star rewards for clearing, obviously, but this is another area that you would potentially get like hero fragments to unlock a hero from the realm, or maybe imprints from the realm, and then just other general, you know, your usual gold, experience, aether stones, that type of rewards. So not a huge change because you'll still be clearing stages to get rewards, but I thought it was real cool that they're going to be realm specific and tied into the realms. And the last thing I want to touch on before I get into my idea for the starter heroes is they mentioned they're also thinking about gear scaling with your campaign progress. So let's say realm 1 is cut off, so we'll go with realm 2. You only get lower quality gear, but then when you clear 7, you're getting way better quality gear than you would at realm 2. They were saying they could have a side node off of the boss where you would farm gear and it would be equal to the level that you're getting from 7. So I think they used speed gear as an example in the video. If you were getting speed gear from Aru and it's low quality, but you're farming 7 and it's better quality, but you want your speed gear, you can farm your speed gear at the same quality that you'll get from 7 using that side node, I guess. That was just another really cool idea that I thought was important to call out. I'm a big fan of that one. Alright, just wanted to throw something on in the background while I yap. But basically, during one of the recent podcasts, they leaked that there's a good chance they switch up the starter heroes. So I had an idea. They're revamping the campaign. Maybe they'll take some other crazy ideas and go with a starter hero. And I think it's kind of similar to what King Arthur did with Arthur, but played that forever ago, so my memory isn't all there for the game. Basically, what if you got a starter hero? Could be any affinity, whichever class. And basically that's your... Let me take a step back. They don't want the Scion to be playable character. So my thought for this starter hero, they would be like an Arbiter, or if that's too close to other games, a emissary of the Scion. So it's basically the Scion gets created and then the Scion has its own avatar since it's creating all these avatars of the other gods and myths and legends, and that the avatar of the Scion is the playable character that isn't as overpowered as the Scion would be. And I know the one hero doesn't really work well in these games, because you kind of progress and you out-progress the hero, and then you don't use it that much, so kind of way around this is I was thinking maybe it could be hard-focused for one boss, maybe even like clan boss, something that you're going to want to keep using this hero for. But my real idea for the hero is it would start at rare, like your classic starter heroes, and then like in Raid you have the Arbiter missions to unlock a legendary hero. Instead of those missions being to unlock a random legendary, those missions could progress your starter. So you would go from a rare, you would grow them to an epic, and then for the final stages of the quest, you would progress them from an epic to legendary. Sorry, I started getting a little off topic and lost my train of thought, but getting back to you finish the quest and you turn your starter into a legendary, the way I think you would do this is basically each upgrade unlocks another level of skill upgrades. So for example, once you're epic, maybe you reduce the cooldown on your core, and you boost the % chance to land your debuff or whatever on your basic and ultimate. And same thing with going legendary, maybe you don't need another skill cooldown, maybe getting to epic brings it from like a 4-turn cooldown to 3, and you don't really want to go lower than a 3-turn cooldown. So maybe the legendary upgrade is another level of your skills to upgrade that gets all your abilities to 100% chance to land. You know, depending on what the buffs, debuffs, and all that are. And that kind of leads to, alright, well, how are the books going to work for this? And I think if you make it part of the quest line, you know, while your starters are rare, part of the quest line is to max out their skills. So you'll have 2 or 3 for each ability that you need to use the rare scrolls on. And then I don't think you need to go too crazy and kill players with books. So for epic, you could just add like 1 per skill. So now you need 3 epic scrolls to level each ability up again. And again, it could be part of the quest line. And then same thing with legendary. Obviously you would complete the quest by then, so it wouldn't be part of the quest line, but you could just add 1 skill level to each 1 skill tier level, I don't know, to each skill. And same thing, you would just need 3 legendary scrolls to fully max out your legendary hero. So I don't know, maybe that's too much for this type of game, but just something I thought would be interesting to throw out there. It's an idea I've had for a while, thinking about how to make it work and fit this style, because it, you know, doesn't really fit that style, but I think it would be cool to have this hero that you're invested in right off the rip, and instead of fading out in the mid-game, you get to upgrade them and take them with you right into the endgame. But yeah, that's all I had for this one. Let me know if you think I'm crazy, or you like the starter hero idea, and obviously leave feedback down below on what you think of the campaign changes. Speaking of feedback, getting back to this video, Paul can say it way better than I can, so let me let him cook for a minute.
It's been great to be here, and exactly what Simon says, like a lot of it may not always be apparent, but everything that you guys say gets fed back into us in the design team, and we absorb all of it, and we're trying to make the game not just for what we think is great, but also for the community. And absolutely feed back your ideas. If anyone has ideas around different side nodes that we could explore, yeah, that's absolutely stuff we want to hear. So you know, let us know. We're really excited about this.
Awesome. Thanks so much, guys. We'll see you in the next one.
So yeah, with that being said, I'll have their video linked down below, so leave comments here, leave comments there, hop on the Discord. They're looking for feedback on everything they talked about, basically. That's all I have for this one. Have a good one.